we'll start with human health and disease, because this lesson and next lesson together we are going to have 14 marks weightage. This term 2, these are the highest weightage topic. That too we can expect around 8 marks minimum, maximum 8 to 9 also we can expect. The other few marks only will be there from that microbes in human welfare, that lesson. Human health and disease will carry the maximum mark, as we all aware. This lesson, there are something we need to follow. We can expect that questions as it is in the exam, that we are going to discuss today. So generally the basic things like, what is the health, or what is, how it is affected, that and all students will be generally able to write it on their own also. So it won't be a big deal for the children, and even for us it is not the thing that we need to give more weightage into that. But the other things, as we start with how the diseases are classified, what is the infectious disease, what are the non-infectious disease, how the lifestyle can affect a person's health. From that perspective also we need to discuss actually in the class. We need to make the children to write test during even revision. We can do that. Definitions, labeling diagram, one or two diagrams from this chapter, and the process, how the steps are there. For example, in case of malaria, that life cycle, we need to make the children to draw the step in the both the host. We can divide, and we need to make the diagram practice is very must for that particular topic. The same way HIV AIDS, the life cycle also we need to have the steps. There are many questions from this chapter can be asked for the differentiations, like a difference between acquired immunity, innate immunity, active, passive, primary, secondary. Like many questions are actually very important from this particular lesson, which we can expect that question may be asked as it is in the exam. We can expect definitely. So it all starts with even some questions, question paper. If you remember, you take it, you may find it. Even they have asked about who discovered this blood circulation. Also, there was a question in the 1 mark questions and all when we used to write. So the children must always know that the blood grouping, the blood circulation, not blood grouping, blood circulation was discovered by William Harvey. And what is that his idea before that? William Harvey only disproved that idea of different Hippocrates classification of body. The people, he classified people into 4 humors, like the red, yellow, black, and white. Generally people those who are having black bile will be always melancholic, always sad. They will be having fever, like different. He had a different understanding of that. He never knew that all only blood was there, that he didn't understand in the beginning. Only it is disproved after William Harvey has discovered that blood circulation only it was disproved. The children, from this topic also question can be expected. So please, we need to make the children prepare this particular topic. Ma'am, Amada ma'am, kindly mute yourself, ma'am. Yes, thank you. So next we can expect one question confirm maximum from this particular all diseases together: bacterial, viral, this nematode, all this thing together. One question definitely we can expect. Usually that is how things are happening. So in the typhoid students, it is very easy for them when we are asking right about typhoid. When they will know even about that causative organism, how it transmitted, what are the symptoms are there. But in exam, generally how they will be asking the question is, they will link this idea with that amoebic dysentery. They will link that a person goes to the doctor with certain symptoms that is related to his intestine. So how come a doctor will know whether it is typhoid? How the doctor will be able to distinguish between a typhoid and this amoebic dysentery? In that way only questions will be there. So twisted questions only will be asked, as we all know that. So in that context, we have to tell to children that how Salmonella typhi, in that how this sustained fever, that constipation, this intestinal perforation, this topic children must be able to keep in mind. And very importantly, repeated question in many exams where, like what is the confirmatory test for this typhoid? That is a repeated questions mostly expected. That also student must know. We can make the children write test during this revision also. We can ask them to write right in front of us one by one, or we can make a table. Table also we can show, because what will happen, they will be studying the first disease. When they read the next one, the first one, usually the students will, some of the students, mainly especially we want to focus on this low achievers also. In that perspective, I am telling. So we need to make the children to make a comparative studies on a table, where the table, if you make, it will over within one page. That one page table, if you can make and give to the children, children will be make easily compare and study them. That also we can do. Next, same way, the another comparison will come in exam, that the comparison between a bacterial disease and a viral disease, that pneumonia and a common cold. Teachers can add on your points. What is the difference between common cold and that pneumonia? It's just to the active ensure the active participation. Teachers can add on. Yes, ma'am.
Causative organism for a common cold, rhinovirus, sir. And
Okay,
pneumonia, pneumococcal bacterial diseases.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Very important
And,
difference.
Cold,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
common cold, both are the same, no, sir.
But yes, ma'am. But in exam, generally they ask, the question asked in some few years back, I remember, like pneumonia is also a lung related disorder, that is respiratory system related disorder, and common cold also. How will we differentiate them on the doctor's point of view or the science point of view? Then the answer will be yes. Anybody would like to try, you can add on, teachers. I'm eagerly waiting. And today is the last date. I expected everyone will be on the video. I don't know, maybe any issues or what, I don't know. It's okay. So if such a question asked, we need to say that. Yes, ma'am. Jansi ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, sir, I'm sorry. Sir, like pneumonia is actually like a lower respiratory disorder.
Exactly, ma'am. Very nice, ma'am. Very nice. I know you'll answer. Yes, right, ma'am. And common cold, ma'am?
It's not that deep. It is restricted to upper respiratory system.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Yes, teachers. Yes. So this low, when they asking in an exam, we need to say that how, even they will ask, how can it be distinguished on the basis of signs also they will ask. So we need to tell that pneumonia is a infection of lower respiratory system. It is characterized by the presence of the fluid filled sac in this lower respiratory system, lungs. That is how doctor will come to know that is the pneumonia. Second one is they will know, ask about this one. It is the common cold. It is characterized by this presence of the nasal congestion. So that word student must always write. Nasal congestion in terms of common cold, and the fluid filled sac in terms of when we are talking about pneumonia. This student must be able to definitely distinguish and write, because there were question asked already by the CBSE. So pneumonia and common cold. Now, of course, students will be, what they will do, they will be writing only the basic things, like pneumonia is a bacterial infection. This another one is like viral infection. Like that, they both are transmitted by the droplets, aerosols, infected, contaminated. This and all they will be writing. But more expected keyword, expected answer is, students are supposed to write that whether pneumonia, which one is the pneumonia, which part of the respiratory system pneumonia affects, and which part of the respiratory system that common cold affects. The student must definitely write the teachers. Please kindly note that. Teachers, shall we go to the next topic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So other things and all very easy. They have to simply memorize. Pneumonia is a streptococcus pneumonia, hemophilus, all this bacterial names, symptoms and all easily they can memorize. Moreover, we can tell the children, see, if it is a mode of transmission, first note it down. Mode of transmission based on the symptoms will be developed. So those idea students must definitely have it, and there won't be any new situation for the student. Students will always know the content, but when the question paper is somewhat twisted or indirect questions when they are asked, that is when students need to understand the question clearly, and then they are supposed to write the answer. So we need to support the students for that regard. That's why. Next one is common cold. As we always say, only viral disease. This is a viral virus infection. 3 to 7 days, the incubation period, they have to know that 3 to 7 days, and they must know that how this indirect transmission, because there were questions, how that, the transmission through the object, the contaminated object, student must be able to write it. Even if they are not asking, they are only asking about common cold, how mode of transmission. Students should not limit with this droplets alone, contaminated droplets alone. It also must be related with the contaminated object. Can any teachers add on what is that indirect transmission called as? Through some object, if the infection is transferred, there is a terminology, I believe.
Fomites.
Sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can
Then got fomite, FOMITES.
yes, exactly, ma'am. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Nice. So next one is this mode of transmission, symptoms, and yes, one question was asked in the CBSE. The answer is also there in the book itself, but in a later pages. How come this disease like pneumonia and common cold can be prevented? How come this can be prevented? So can teachers recall any answers for that? You might have seen in the NCERT. It is there in the book itself, teachers. It's a book answer only. Very small place it will be there. CBSE expecting answer from that particular paragraph. Anyone can add on. Shanmuga Priya ma'am didn't say anything today. I don't know what happened.
Maybe vaccinators, sir.
Okay. Prevention by yes.
Like whatever we are doing for coronavirus, we can do, sir.
Exactly, ma'am. But there is what is the problem, no, ma'am? The keywords are expected in the as per the reader mostly, ma'am. So that is where the students will be losing the marks actually when they don't write the keywords. The students will come out of the exam hall with a satisfaction that they have written the answer very well. But when the keywords are missing, unfortunately, the marks will not be given. As a result, that reduces the mark. Actually, the answer is avoid congested area. It is there in the book itself. You will find it in a paragraph. Avoid congested area. Second one is avoid sharing of the object of the infected person. This two only is a prevention, ma'am. It is there in the book itself. If anybody is having book, you will be able to find. I think so. You would have found already. That answer is expected from the children. So please kindly note it down. So if at all such a questions asked also, student must be able to write the answer, correct answer with the correct keyword. They are supposed to write that we need to prepare the children. Next one topic, most of the teachers would have trained the children like nook and corner. No stones will be unturned, left unturned. Everything would have been made. That is about malarial life cycle. So generally all this, how the host in the malaria, how it female Anopheles mosquito in the body. After teaching, you are all teaching. If you again ask what causes malaria, what is the answer commonly expected, teachers?
There is a mosquito.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, after hearing entire story, at last again they will
But
come
in
to that.
TVs and ads and all, how they are showing, no, sir, like killing mosquitoes. You
Yes,
should not. That is what it is shown in
Yes,
ads. And
yes,
all.
yes,
So they
ma'am,
are
that's
thinking
what.
for mosquitoes, okay.
Exactly, ma'am. They know the answer. But what happened? It's like a reflex already stored in the mind because of mosquito. The students know about mosquito much better than about this pathogen. That's the reason why they do write it. But we need to train them. We need to again and again, when such questions are asked, ask them to take a breath. And once breathing, after breathing, think and then answer. They don't think during the exam hall. They will go blank actually. We all know that we have crossed the age when we are writing in the exams and all. Sometimes the mind goes completely blank. Like that only students are also facing problem. That we need to write from the beginning for next year and all. Right from the beginning, we need to put the word. We need to make them subside that Anopheles mosquito, and mostly they should talk about Plasmodium. We need to put it into the practice. So that students definitely will do. You all would have done magic in that. They will score the maximum marks whenever such a question comes in the exam. But they have to keep in mind what generally questions are asked. As you all know that this malignant malaria commonly asked question in many exams. And what is the reason for recurring chillness and high fever? That is also a very commonly asked question. Next, very indirect questions, if you see, only about the diploidy, that how this maturation happens in the salivary gland. That kind of questions will be asked. These two things will be very commonly, these three things will be commonly asked in the exam. So we need to prepare the children according to that level, that which one is the infectious to the human, and which one enters into the mosquito, and where it is fertilized, where it is matured, and where it is stored. This all this sequence they must be able to understand, but which is not there in the reader. It won't be given in such a sequence. And we need to train the children to draw the cycle with the words. You would have already trained, I believe so. If not, also please make the children to train to draw this cycle, no, without using a diagram. They must be able to draw that. Please kindly keep that also in the mind. Next, Entamoeba histolytica. If you take the old question paper, you will find it very well that it is always linked with this typhoid, and the questions were asked. Then only students will get confused. Then we can check whether they have understood or not. So that's why mostly this question asked in such a way only. So we need to prepare the children that how Entamoeba histolytica, in what way it is different from that typhoid in terms of even mode of transmission and symptoms, and especially the causative organism. We need to train the children in this regard. If you feel anything is left out, or your experience also are most welcome to be shared here. Next one is another example, that Helminthes disease, commonly called, these two are very important. Again, here also students will be having doubt about this causative organism. They won't be writing. Most of the time they don't write it. We need to make the children to write the causative organism, mode of transmission comparatively with both the things, both the disease together. We need to make the children to understand, because in exam that questions are asked in the commonly only. You can see that somebody would have seen already the question paper. They together only ask this particular topic. So we can need to prepare the children with that regard. And last one is the ringworm. So ringworm is caused by 3 different fungus names. They must definitely write, teachers. The Microsporum, Trichophyton, and Epidermophyton. All the 3 are supposed to be, they have to write it. And they must also write the mode of transmission, which is very elaborately given in the book. But they have to say that very simple, how with the contact, direct contact mainly, and indirect also, how this is actually transmitted. The student must be able to write it. 3 organism name they must memorize, that a fungal infection. So we have seen right from the beginning bacterial infection. There are 2 examples, and the virus 1 example. Then this particular fungal 1 example, protozoan 2 examples, and this nematode 2 examples. So all this together, 1 question definitely will be expected in the for the exam. 1 question, it can be 3 mark also, or it can be 2 mark, whatever the mark may be. Student must ensure they get the maximum marks in that. Next question asked in the exam is personal hygiene. This and all, children will write stories, but we need to warn them. It's not like they cannot write any story about personal and public hygiene. They cannot write just stories. They have to write a scientific, the principle they have to write. They have to write various methods are written, but for the public hygiene, they must be able to write. What if the exam can be even sometime very easy questions can be there. Write any 3 ways in which public hygiene can be achieved. If such a kind of questions are asked, student must be able to write a correct measures, not simply like, keep the garbage and all, throw it in the dustbin, keep your surrounding clean. Instead of writing very general, it has to be very elaborate how it is given in the reader. They must be able to write the answer. And very importantly, the mosquito, when vector-borne disease comes, there is a name of the fish they must write. Can we quickly recall, teachers, the fish name?
Gambusia, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, Gambusia's fish name and also guppies. Both the fish, but in NCERT reader we have one, that is enough. So how come we get rid of the diseases caused by the vector? In that way, they have to write about all the methods, including how we can protect using of repellents, using of different the mosquito nets, and next one is killing the larva using biological control method. In exam, they write biological control method of mosquito larvae. If they are asking also, student must be able to relate with this particular fish. They have to write it, the name they have to write, and they should mention that how it is controlled. And the next one is the vaccination, how the prevention of disease. So the immunization and vaccination methods also is a method used for controlling various infectious disease, which are very deadly diseases. So far it is controlled. Since students have undergone this pandemic period very lively, questions can be there to relate with their regular life experience. Also the questions can be expected. So we need to make the children to be prepared in that way. And human immune system, again one question from, as I said, from infectious disease, one question we can expect. Next one, human, at minimum one question I'm telling. Based on the mark it would differ. If a 2 marks, 2 questions also can be there, whatever that. The human immune system, there are again one question can be asked from this. Children must be able to understand, first of all, what is the difference between the innate immunity and acquired immunity. First of all, they must be able to understand between these two, the innate and acquired. In innate immunity, they must by heart all the 4 steps, the physical, physiological, cellular, cytokine, all these 4 they must be able to memorize. And in this also, that polymorpho PMNL, PMNL must be able to, polymorphonuclear leukocyte, they must be able to correctly memorize, and they must be able to write it in the exam, teachers. Mostly that kind of questions also have come in the exam. So physical barrier, what they will do, they will write maybe about skin, they will finish it, but at least 2 points they must write about it, including the mucus coat of the respiratory system, gastrointestinal system, and urogenital system. All these points they must be able to write it. So all this system comes under first line, the first line of defense. So they are all non-specific, a very important keyword, non-specific type of immunity. And they also write it, it is there in a person since the birth. And these barriers, each barrier, one example, student must be able to quote it. We all do that, but students, we need to make them understand how it can be example, as a simple manner. They don't have to explain too many things. You may find that sometimes children for 3 mark questions and all will be writing 1 page, 1.5 page. But you will be in the answer, if you find, you will not find the very important keywords at all. Only they will write with their own experience, whatever we are explaining in the class, that examples and all they will include, but they will not write the exact keywords. So we need to train the children to write exactly what is what. No need to have extra wording, writing, paragraph writing and all must be avoided. Only what is the question asked, for that the answer must be there, and a very simplified and a very crisp manner it has to be practiced in the children. Same way that the interferon, they will not get confusion anyway, that alpha interferon there and here also. But whenever they are asking in such an exam, there is a possibility. We need to again put into their mind that interferon, how it is acting as a cytokine barrier, or in innate immunity, how it is playing its role. We have to make the children to keep that in mind. Next one is acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, in any questions may come. Say for example, it may be even difference between primary response and secondary response, or the question may be like, a child got some disease at the age of 5, and the same child got the disease at the age of 10. What is this kind? It was very active, fast, quickly the child has recovered or did not show any symptom in the second attack. What is this because of? What type of immunity is there? why it is so, why the first one was so less intense and second one was so high intense. Like that, in a different way, the questions will be asked. Children must be able to immediately relate that experience with that acquired immunity, and the primary and secondary response they must be able to understand. So in the regular test itself, we can ask questions to the children like, this chicken pox. At the age of 4, a child gets. After 10 years, only the child again, when the next time the pathogen entered, the same chicken pox, she didn't have any much symptom. The symptom was very less. Quickly, the person has recovered. Like that, when we ask the question to the children, they will be able to relate. Mostly questions will be like that only. It won't be just generally directly differentiate primary immune response from the secondary immune response like that. It won't be there. It will be an example situation will be given. In that, student must be able to relate with that, and they must be able to write it. Teachers, please add on anything you would like to add.
No, sir. You can proceed.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. If anybody would like to add anything, please. Next one is again on the basis of cells, the lymphocytes. Also, we must be able to, student must be able to differentiate what is the B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes. One, nothing but 2 lines that it produces antibodies, the first one, and that antibodies are nothing but the army of proteins that fight the pathogen. That much they must write. Same T lymphocyte do not go directly for antibodies, but it will help the B cells to produce the antibodies. This much a student must be able to write. Next different very important diagram based question will be there. That is an antibody molecule. So how many disulfide bridges will be there, teachers? In an antibody molecule?
Between light and heavy chain, one, sir.
Yes,
So
ma'am. The bridges, ma'am. The sulfide, the disulfide.
Disulfide bridge, 4,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Actually, 4 multiply with 3, 16 actually. 16 it must be there. 3. So 16.
Okay.
So yes, ma'am. Please. Sometime yes, teachers, and also they have to mention the carbon below that long chain, heavy chain H2L2. The heavy chain below that carbon C, they have to write it, and the number of disulfide bridges you can also count it. There will be 16 type of bridges they should definitely draw. Kindly practice the children, including the antigen binding site, light chain, heavy chain, the disulfide bridges in the correct position of the disulfide bridges, and the presence of carbon molecule at the bottom. Everything they should draw. They should not miss out on anything. Please kindly practice the children according to that, and they should write H2L2 also. They must be able to write. Next difference will be asked in the same topic will be the difference between that AMI and CMI, or humoral immune response or cell mediated immune response. This question definitely asked in the exam, many times asked. So what are the difference if you take that one acquired immunity itself? What are all the different questions are possible? Or if you take the immunity one topic, what are all the questions are expected in that from that particular topic? In the point of view of question, in the point of view of student, if such a questions are asked to the children, how to relate with their knowledge that they have gained, how to write it in the exam, they must be able to do. Otherwise, students are general experience. They will come out of the exam hall that yes, they have written everything very well. But when we check the paper only, we will come to know what are all the mistakes they have made it. We only will come to know. So kindly please give little more importance in that area. Acquired immunity fully. Same way innate immunity. Line by line, let us make the children to learn. This types of antibodies is not there in the reader. NCERT, it is not, it will not be, it should not be asked in the exam also. It's only for just, some children will be asking what are the types are there. For them it is added, otherwise it won't be there.
Here itself we can add one word regarding the colostrum. Colostrum is which in here we can give one more.
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am, repeat, ma'am. Sorry.
The colostrum.
Yes, colostrum. Yes, here
That
also
we can add.
Yes, we can
Yes.
add, but that is a ready-made antibodies. So later, if we add in that one sequence, if we add, yes, you are also right only. In one way, we can do that also. But when we are grouping, let acquired immunity alone be in one area. Whatever the questions are asked from that, the student must be able to answer is. That we need to make the children to understand teachers. Next one is the same thing about the memory. Wherever they are writing about the what is the principle of immunity, immune system or acquired immunity and all they are asking, we must always make the children to write the word memory. Even if there is a question from immunity, but there is no any such direct answer, ask the children to write that. The principle of immune system is memory. Based on the memory, it works. That the student must be able to write it. Next, cell-mediated immunity. That part alone was asked in the exam many times. Graft rejection. What happens to a people those who are got transplanted their kidney from a non-compatible donor? What will happen? Indirectly, the questions comes in the exam. So they here what will happen? I have observed in my class that I am just sharing with you. You also can put your students are actually when this question asked, they are immediately linking this topic with microbes in human welfare, where the immunosuppressive agents are given to the patient who is undergoing transplantation surgery. There is one word. Do you remember, teachers?
Cyclosporin.
Transplant, it will
Yes, exactly. There also students are linking this concept. When questions are very blunder, when it's not properly explained to the children, they will link the concept with that concept also, and they will write something about it. So we need to make the children to understand from which chapter the question is asked, whether it is from the human health and disease or from the microbes in human welfare, in what context the question is asked. The student must be able to write it in that way only. The easy differentiation is, if the question comes from the next chapter, there should be a word called biomolecules, bioactive molecules. Like that, the word should be there. Then only it is coming from that for next lesson. Otherwise, it is from this particular the human health and disease. They must be able to differentiate between these two, and they must write about CMI also. Next one, blood grouping. Generally, they won't ask what will happen if blood is. Generally, they cannot ask such a irrelevant concept to the book. But still, if they are asking, also student must be able to write it. It is our duty to prepare the children how to do that. Next question will be that active and passive immunity. While explaining itself, please explain. Active immunity also can be attained naturally or artificially. Passive immunity also can be attained naturally or artificially. Let us put that in the mind of children in this way. So active immunity, natural. What is the example means? The person directly gets the infection during his or her lifetime is called as natural active immunity. Second thing, artificial. Artificially vaccine is given to the person. Then it is called as active immunity, artificial. Examples I am telling. Then passive immunity, the natural, the mother's milk, colostrum, as ma'am said, that is from natural antibodies. Not only that, you can even add on for the antibodies of placenta. Though they have not mentioned that, but we need to make the children understand two things. One is the colostrum and another one is the placenta. Through placenta, antibodies are moving. Second one is artificial, this monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies are how they are actually given ready-made. That we need to make the children understand. So active, passive, while writing itself, while reading itself, let them learn in that way. Otherwise, what will happen by sitting in the exam hall, if the question is very generalized, then student will be in a confused state of mind, whether to write about that infection or whether to write about vaccination for active immunity. I'm telling. Same way for passive immunity also, they will have a confusion. So let us put this in their mind in this way, that active, passive, natural, artificial for both the cases. Together, if we make them learn, they will be able to keep in mind without forgetting that. And your marks will be the maximum. They will get the maximum mark in biology. We can be very happy about it. Next one is that this active and passive immunity, the immunization. Next topic we have to see about immunization. The placenta. if they want to add, they can add that IgG antibody. Anyway, for a colostrum, they should definitely write that IgA antibody. But for placenta, they can even add IgG antibodies. They can write, there is no wrong in that, that we need to do. When it comes about passive immunity, the artificial passive immunity, the anti-tetanus serum, many questions are asked. Many times the questions will come like that, why we are advised to take a TT immediately once after we have any accident or any hurt with any sharp objects or any rusted object. Like that, if the questions are coming, student must be able to relate with this particular concept. Next one is active and passive immunization. So immunization, vaccination, student must be able to differentiate that particular terminology, how to write it. They can write about this pulse polio program, that even COVID also, if they write, there is no wrong. If the question is general question, definitely they can write about Covaxin, Covishield, those things also they will be able to write. There won't be wrong in that. But if the questions are very particular, if they are asking about any disease where already schedule charted for giving this vaccines, like BCG or polio, like this questions are there, HPV, all this there, then we need to make the children to give that example only. Mainly in the book, we have these examples of, polio vaccine, hepatitis B and DPT. This thing they can write it. They have to write it. And very importantly, name a DNA vaccine if they are asking, asked in question, that is hepatitis B vaccine, they must be able to write it. It is a DNA, recombinant DNA vaccine example. The next one is the snake venom. When tetanus infections and all is there, how the ready-made? The questions will be asked like, when a person has the snake bite, why immediately the person is not left as it is? Why immediately taken to hospital to give ready-made antibodies? Then student must be said, it is it is called passive immunization, in which ready-made antitoxin antibodies are given for snake venom. Otherwise, it will kill the person. If we wait for the natural antibodies to be produced, it will kill the person. So it should be avoided. Can teacher add on how these anti-venom antitoxins are produced? Teachers can add on. Are they made in any laboratories, or how have they made this antitoxin antibodies?
They are made only in laboratories, especially I think they will make with monoclonal antibodies.
Okay, ma'am, fine. Next, anybody can add, yes. Actually, I have learned like
Maybe,
it is. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
maybe through some organisms they may get, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, actually, I have to happen to know. It is
I'm not
produced using
remembering, but I have a slight
no
idea
issues,
of
no
this.
issues. We are all together only. We are going to learn, ma'am. So it is actually made. I have happen to know it is made using horse. Actually, they will make the snakes to bite the horse. Horse will is very active in producing this anti-venom antibodies. From the horse body, the antibodies will be extracted, purified, and will be stored. That one will be administered to the people, those who are actually bitten by the snakes. Very few snakes we have in India which are very poisonous, venomous. So all of them have same anti-toxin antibodies only. They don't have different. I was wondering why doctors and all asking us to bring the snake which has bitten. But later came to know whatever the poisonous snakes actually stings us, for every for this only one type of anti-venom antibodies are going to be given. That's what I just happen to know. If you also knows anything, you can share later, no issues. Then next one is allergy. Allergy altogether only a question which I said. So allergy also question can be asked. It's a many exaggerated immune response. The type of antibody produced here is the IgE antibody. Students must definitely mention that. They should not forget to mention, and also they should mention that how this IgE antibodies bind to this mast cell to make it release this histamine and serotonin. They must definitely write that. First one is what is allergy. Second one, what are allergens? Definition of allergen, any substance that triggers allergy is called as allergen. Examples like, mites or pollens or dander, anything they can give an example. Any one or two, definitely they must write. Then what antibodies involved in that, they should know. IgE antibody. CBSE may ask question like this also. A person is hospitalized. When blood was tested, they found more amount of IgE antibody in the blood. What is the reason? What could be the reason for that? They may ask in exam like that also. The student must be able to understand these antibodies are released in the body during at the time of allergic reaction, and what are the chemicals are released, and what are the treatment, because it is there in the reader that what are the treatments are given to the people, those who are having this particular allergy, like antihistamine, antiserotonin, steroids. These are all the very common in medicines are given, or adrenaline. These are all the things given to the people to immediately subside this allergic reaction, the symptom, because the symptoms can be serious. Say for example, a person has that asthma. When the person inhales something like some allergen, the person breathing will become difficult, the person will be hospitalized. Unless or until we reduce the symptom, the person will not be able to survive also, otherwise it will become very life danger for that person's life. So children must be able to understand, first of all, the treatment involves, they cannot kill the allergens, they have to bring down the allergy level. To bring down the allergy level, what are all the antihistamines and adrenaline, steroids and all immediately given to the children, the person who has allergic reaction, to bring down the symptom. That student must definitely write it. There is no permanent cure, that also student must be able to write. Now, many people, because of our lifestyle, many people, especially in the cities, the people are actually getting more allergies. This asthma, this and all is ever increasing in cities. Yeah, today's data, more than 15,000 people have died in India for pollution, air pollution. The pollution, impact of pollution also is there. So student must be able to understand all this thing. Anyway, for this current batch, we cannot tell all this thing, extra things. For next batch, we can keep in mind, and we can tell them that how it impacts. Even you can give an as a project impact of various this pollution on the person's health, we can give. Next one is the autoimmunity. Student will be confusing here autoimmunity and again with the graft rejection. They will have some confusion. Sometimes they get that. So we need to make understand this when the immunity is failed to recognize between the self and non-self for some reason. It can be genetics or any other unknown reason. It can be because of that what happens in the body, why our immune system attacks our own cells, that we can give. Best example is rheumatoid arthritis. One more example also you can add on, teachers. Which one will you add? If at all two examples they are asking.
Myasthenia gravis.
Very nice, ma'am. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Yes, myasthenia gravis also another example. So next one is this HIV. I just cut out most of the parts because which we don't require already. We know that, but generally the questions comes in the exam. What at that point of view only I'm prepared. Very important only. What is syndrome? Why the AIDS is not called as a disease? Why it is called as syndrome? Student must definitely write that keyword. It is a group of symptoms. Syndromes are nothing but it's a group of symptoms. They must write that. And retrovirus, they must definitely write that. Reverse transcriptase, they must write that. They must write the macrophages. They must write how this reverse transcriptase converts that RNA into DNA. They must write it. Then how it is attacking the helper, T helper cells, that we need to make the children to understand. And how that cell become the factory of virus, which produces more progeny of virus, how it is happening. So children must be able to write it line by line. Of course, you would have given practice, I believe so, but still it's my duty to, we need to discuss that they must, these are all the keywords. While drawing the diagram itself, if you see, children will not mention certain things like, reverse transcriptase, they will forget. As I always say, we are all teaching, they are all learning. At the time of exam, somehow their mind will go blank. And some of the students, and they will not remember what to write, even which was a very easy thing they used to write in that classwork and all, or in that class test. They will feel it difficulty to write it in the exam. So we need to remove the fear out of them, and we need to make them understand the exactly in the book also they can write. Otherwise, the another idea you can follow, you can make the children to follow. You can see on your screen one flow chart is there. This flow chart you make the children to write it. This flow chart covers almost all the topics. So make the children, you can take a screenshot also, or you want to write it down, no, you can note it down also, all your wish only. You can make the children to write this flow chart. If they keep this in the memory, they can write this in the exam and they will be able to write. Even if they don't know what to write for, the question comes from the HIV/AIDS related to the life cycle. If they don't know what to write, let them write the entire flow chart, or let them write the entire the diagram, so that the marks will be considered in that regard, that we can prepare the children. Yes, teachers, shall we go to the next one? Anything you would like to add? Are you following this, or do you follow something else, teachers?
Yes, sir. Same thing only, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Same
Thank
thing.
you.
Yes, sir.
So you can make the children to follow this, teachers. This is another diagram which is there in the book. The CD receptors and all, we cannot expect students. CBSE will not give, it's not there in the keyword. We cannot expect them to write the CD4 receptors and all. Of course, they can learn it, but no need to use it for assessment. It will not be used. They must understand this much. The reverse transcriptase, they must know. And very importantly, because of the weakening of immune system, what happens, it is not going to show any symptoms directly on its own alone. It's going to be a group of symptoms. Here, children must definitely mention the bacterial infection like Mycobacterium, or the parasitic infection like Toxoplasma parasite, what that infect. These two are the keywords, teachers. Please kindly make the children to practice. They must write it. This Mycobacterium also, Toxoplasma also, both they have to write it. And what is the test given for the diagnosis? Already they know very well. Having studied biotechnology, or having studied this the molecular base of inheritance, and everywhere they have studied about this ELISA. But here they have to expand and write. If at all they are asking the abbreviation to be expanded, student must be able to memorize and must be able to write it in an expanded form. That is very important. There is no permanent cure. The student must underline. Let them write and ask them to underline that there is no permanent cure. Only prevention is the better cure. By giving the drugs and medicines, we can make the people to, we can prolong the death. We can make the people to live for a long time, but definitely we cannot permanently cure. That student must write it in the exam. Though we say they forget the things. So we need to make the children to write that particular sentence. That is cancer. So from cancer alone, one question we can expect, teachers. Please, nook and corner. During this revision time is very crucial time. Whatever you say, students will be listening to us as if the God itself saying. Because this is the time they will be very keenly preparing. Throughout 1 year, they have not studied anything. I usually tell my children, what is the need of teaching you from right from the beginning to end? Only anyway, it is going to be prepared only in the last moment. This 10 days, 5 days, whatever the study holidays are there, that time only they are going to study. They will put their heart and soul in that, they will be studying. So this time, we need to make the children understand whenever the question comes from the cancer, what question maximum can come, what is contact inhibition, why that property will go, what is the difference in the contact inhibition in the normal cell and the neoplastic cell. Like that question only is going to come. Or what is the difference between the benign and malignant tumor? Why malignant tumors are so severe? What is the difference, and how it is different in their activity? Same way, what is the blood cancer is called as? And what is the property we call it as, in which the cancer spread from one part of the body to another part of the body? What is the terminology is called as? Like that questions only generally it's going to be asked. So we know the questions, what are the main topics are there. Yeah, especially first of all physiology, then about the medicine treatment we will go. First in this, we need to make the children understand what is the difference between the normal cell and neoplastic cell, what property is there. Then what is the difference between benign tumor and malignant tumor? What is metastasis? This three sentence we need to make the children to understand very well. Here we need to ask a question. Why a tumor cell do not cause any pain? When we are having some swelling because of a wound or some heat lesions are there in our body, or when we have this chicken pox, all this time the swellings will be always painful. The lesions will be always painful. But why not when the person is having that cancer, it is not painful? What is the reason? We need to ask to the children. Yes, teachers, would like to answer? Would like to add on? What is the reason? What is the reason for the cancer cells do not show any pain? It's a painless lumps only will be there. That is what we say whenever cancer is there. What is the reason for that? Somebody is going to say, who is that? Yes.
I'm just knowing this one because I came to know one. If we have, maybe your point of view is correct, but
Okay.
actually when we suffer tumor, we have pain. That's what I know. So I do not
Okay.
know the answer, to be very frank.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, yes, very nice. When pain is there in the, if a tumor is formed in the brain, for example, the tumor will be giving some pressure on the nearby cells. Because of that, the person will be feeling pain, the pressure. Or when we are having in the lungs or internal organ, it will be shown because of the pressure created on that, there will be a pain. But say, for example, on our hand, there is one tumor growth is there. However, we touch it, even sometimes we won't notice that it is present in the on our skin on the surface. We won't, it will not be known. When we touch it also, there won't be any pain. That is the reason is it is our own body cells. The tumorous growth is nothing but the normal cell grows uncontrollably. When we have our own cells, how come that will cause pain to us? Our own cells are growing in a rapid growth, they won't cause pain. So that is the reason why when the lumps are there outside the body, the inside body, the brain tumor and all, why it causes pain? Because it doesn't, the tumor itself will not cause the pain. The pain is outcome of the pressure created on the nearby organ. Because of that, pain will be there, teachers. Please kindly note that also. Next one is carcinogen, causes of cancer. What causes cancer? Various physical agents, chemical agents, biological agents. We need to make the children to understand, in which tobacco, chemical agents, tobacco is the #1 contributor of the cancer in India. More number of whatever the cancer is reason in India, the first reason, first place taken by this tobacco, chewing or smoking. That student must be able to write it in the exam. Next, very common question they should know is that biological agents. What are all the different biological agents are there? Like, oncogenic virus or C-on, these two things they must be able to write it correctly in their exam. Next, the radiation, of course. Yeah, that's very easy for them to keep in mind that X-rays, gamma rays, and non-ionizing radiation. Like, yes, one question may be there. What are all the different ionizing and non-ionizing radiation that can cause cancer? Like that, they may ask. They may. So then we need to write correct. The student must correctly write the ionizing radiation, X-ray, and gamma. Then non-ionizing radiation like UV. That both they must be able to write it correctly. The next one is cancer detection and diagnosis. What are all the methods we can detect the cancer? Very common method available. If it is outer surface of the body, if we have the cancer, then very easily we can go for a biopsy. Next, the imaging techniques for internal especially, or use of antibodies, the early detection, but molecular biology, that also for early detection. So biopsy, what is that? How the tissue will be taken. Here we need to make the children understand what is histopathological studies. What is the meaning of the term histopathological studies? We need to make the children understand. Sorry, teachers, am I visible on the camera?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sorry, there is a power cut all of a sudden. I don't know what has happened. If I'm not able to see, that's why I wanted to ask. Okay. So next one is in imaging technique. This two imaging technique, they must be able to differentiate. One is CT, another one is MRI. Which one is better? Like that also question will be asked. Can you say teachers which one is better for the internal organs?
MRI.
Yes. Why also? One more question will ask why. We'll add on that. Yes, we'll add on.
That's because CT scan will give only three-dimensional figure, but the MRI, I think the entire lot of things internally we can visualize.
Very nice, ma'am. Very nice. But there is a difference of opinion also. CT scan also is very important because it gives a live image of it. From that we can say. Whereas the MRI will simply say, for example, in this area, tissue is somewhat very thicker. It should have been only 1 mm thicker, but now the tissue is 1.5 mm thicker. It is there. Like that information only we will be getting through MRI scan, ma'am. MRI scan, that is what it will do. Whereas in the CT scan, we can see the live 3D image of that internal organ, where we will be able to find any cancerous growth is there in the particular area or not. We will be able to use it. So CT scan, mostly the difference of opinion is CT scan also is mainly used for cancer detection. That only helps like that. The doctors say, people say generally. And here, one more thing the CBSE can ask, generally asks, when a person goes for the blood test, finds more amount of WBC in the blood count shows more WBC. What could be the reason? Like that, if they are asking, what shall we answer? If at all children are asked this kind of question, how shall we prepare the children to answer?
Leukemia.
It's a kind of cancer, no, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Leukemia, that we need to say. Yes, usually the WBC content should be very low only. If a sudden increase in WBC content, it indicates the presence of certain pathogen in our body. But in this case, the WBC will be more because more amount of WBC is produced because the cancer grows. If a normal WBC is converted into a cancerous neoplastic cell, then it multiplies in high number. Teachers, please, here you can link this concept with Graves' disease. Do you recall Graves' disease in 11th standard? What is the reason? Do you remember, teachers?
Hyperthyroidism, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Why that hyperthyroidism happens?
Exophthalmic goiter.
That's what. Why it happens? There is a word, ma'am, in the book itself. Why that exophthalmic goiter happens, or why that hyperthyroidism occur? It's because of the cancer that occurs in the thyroid gland. When there is a cancer in the thyroid gland, it leads to increased amount of thyroxine hormone, which we call it as hyperthyroidism. Same concept we need to link with the children here. When a normal WBC, when it turned into a neoplastic cell, then its number increase. So that number is reflecting in the blood test. So the person is having the blood cancer, or also called as leukemia. The children must be able to say it. The next one is the diagnosis. Last one, this antibiotic, this antibodies and molecular biology. That also we can take help. Student must understand these antibodies and this, molecular diagnostic are very useful to find the cancer at an earlier stage. Early detection is very important. As we all know, student must know that very clearly. Early detection of cancer is very important for a better curing. Why there are so many people die because of cancer in India or across the world? If we see, we will get the symptom. After the symptom only we'll go to the doctor. To make the symptoms to appear, already the cancer will be in advanced stage. When advanced stage cancer is there, it is very hard to cure, or mostly whatever the treatment we are trying, that will go waste and that won't be successful. That's why early detection is very important. Student must understand this. For that, we can use these antibodies, and also that antibodies will detect the presence of particular antigen in our body, which is specific to the cancer. Based on that, it will be detected earlier stage, very earlier stage. Same way PCR, or this molecular diagnosis. In this also we can find it very earlier by presence of this particular especially when we come to know there are tobacco chewing people are there. There are the the people, those who possibly get the cancer or in genetic history it is there. Those people must be periodically diagnosed or tested for the presence of cancer. Then the treatment will become more possible. That we need to make the children to understand. Next, when it comes to therapy or treatment, very common question asked in the exam is the alpha interferon. Otherwise also they should know that radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, surgery, these are all the common methods available. Generally, one method alone cannot be employed. Student must understand more than one method will be employed to treat the cancer, because we are reaching the doctor only at the later stage. But earlier stage, when the person goes to the doctor before presence of any symptom, then with one method itself it can be treated. That we need to make the children understand. And very importantly, what are alpha interferons? They must know. They should write that it is a biological response modifier. First keyword they must write. Second point they must write, this activates their immune system and helps in destroying the tumor. These two keywords they must definitely write it in the exam if at all there is a question about that particular thing. And also the effect of this chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, what will be the side effects? Side effects are unavoidable when chemotherapy is given to the people, so that they must be able to write it. The hair loss, anemia, this and all is unavoidable for the people those who have undergone chemotherapy. Radiotherapy, they should understand, like diamond cuts diamond. Sometimes the radiations only cause cancer. Now using the same concept, we can only cut carefully only the tumorous, that cancer tissue alone we are going to remove without damaging that normal tissue surrounding, that should not be damaged. So we can make the children to read that. It is very easy only, would have already trained. Next, this and all same thing only. When they are asking about benign and malignant tumor, please let us add more point to that. At least 3 points they must write, not just 1 point. The students will write benign tumor is very very simple, or it's not so severe. Malignant tumor is very severe or very malignant, like that they will write. So we need to make the children write at least 3 points, very simple points, like slow growing, fast growing, the metastasis present in the malignant tumor, not present in benign tumor. It's a benign tumor is a localized. They can write instead of do not do metastasis, they can write like localized. They can write. So like it will usually end with OMA. But whereas the malignant tumor will generally end with sarcoma. Many words will be here. We cannot use actually the word perfectly there. That children will maybe get confused there. Let us not put that last point, but other points we can make the children to add. You also can add any other point you would like to add on to that. You do that in the class. Do you add any other point, teachers, apart from that?
No, sir. Sir, I actually don't say this capsulated. I actually do not know what is it. Capsulated
okay.
and capsulated in what sense, sir?
No, it's actually capsulated. They want to say that only the cells, what will happen, the benign tumor in the localized tissue, that will be confined in that. Yes, that word we can use. That is the word actually capsulated means here. Confined to one region, that only they have given as capsulated.
Capsulated means extra layer will be there.
That will hold that tumor growth only in that place. Very nice, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Whereas the non-capsulated, they are free to move from any place. They will slotted off. They will pinch off from the tumor tissue. They will travel through the blood anywhere. But whereas the benign tumor cannot do that because they are capsulated. They are covered.
So instead of using word restricted and non-restricted, you have used capsulated, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And also we can say like easy to treat, difficult to treat also students can add on. There is no issues. then cancer is over. Next, another one question can come from one question minimum. I am telling maximum it can be 2 also, because we have 8 marks, totally 8 or 9 marks questions can be there. So minimum one questions that I am telling. So commonly used drugs, drug alcohol abuse, fully the entire topic from the starting of what are the drugs are there till that, how come we handle the people, what is that, avoid undue peer pressure, that prevention and control, that up to that, what are there. Who knows, if students this question paper, maybe it may be like that also, that all the prevention can be asked in 5 mark or 3 mark question, so student can get the maximum mark, but they must write correctly, at least to some extent they must write the keywords in a correct manner, then only that marks can be ensured to them. The first one, generally they won't ask the two different, they may ask, they are asking difference between this heroin and morphine. This is a very common question seen in many question paper. So 2 points they can write. The morphines are extracted from the latex of poppy plant. It's a very sedative painkiller used for surgery. The doctor prescribes it. Whereas the heroin is obtained by diacetylation of morphine, and it is a white, colorless, bitter, crystalline compound. They must be able to write it. It is taking as an this drug, which as a depressant. It is a depressant. They must know when they are talking about this opioids, they must say that it's a depressant. So that student must be able to write. The questions usually may be like this only, or they may ask sometime, maybe if they want to ask a difficult question, they may give the chemical structure of the morphine, and they may ask children to identify what is the structure. Such questions were also asked once or twice in the past papers, if you see. The next one is the cannabinoids. How the cannabinoids work. If they are asking, they should know, right, that it binds with the specific receptors for the cannabinoids in the brain. They should write it. And how they are taken, that we should write. It affects the cardiovascular system, that they must write. And what are the different names or different inflorescences are called as, the different names of this particular hemp plant, wherever which inflorescence taken, when from flower tops or leaves or resins, or when we are taking, what they are all called as. The student must be able to little write on that. Then same for cannabinoids also. When difficult questions are asked, it can be asked like structure, molecular structure will be given. That will be asked to identify what is the type of drug is, which drug is that. Like that question may be asked. Then this cocaine, that is Erythroxylum coca, that plant, and how it is interfere, that is very important. The dopamine, that is a very important neurotransmitter in our brain. We are all happy, or we have emotions mainly because of the dopamine only. But when this drug is abused, it will interfere with the dopamine, and as a result, there will be a problem in perceiving the message from outside as it is. They won't be able to perceive. There will be a differences. Then what is that hallucination means, what this and all, student must be able to write it. I do show to the images or different, because we cannot make the how that the experience will be there, that cannot be shared, that cannot be understood, that cannot be explained to anybody. What is that? No one can explain. So we need to make the children to understand by some other means. There is a cartoon, I don't remember exactly the cartoon name. In that the cartoon will eat some flowers. After eating the flowers, the cartoon will become, like the illusions and all will be there. Like that it comes. I remember one small boy will be lost in the forest. That cartoon will go like that. It's a movie. So we can take a small clip and we can try to show to the children to make them understand what is that. When animals are doing these hallucinations, why they are producing, here itself we have to say why certain plants are producing such a kind of hallucinogens. We need to say it's a defense mechanism present in plants, so that the children will be able to learn it easily in the next chapter, that is organism and population. They will be able to relate and write it. So they must know why these chemicals are produced. That children must know. Next, there are certain drugs prescribed by the doctor for the people, like for various health issues, mental illness or depressions or insomnia, for all this thing. When a prolonged usage, children must write, the prolonged usage of certain drugs can lead to that again a negative effect on the person. So that student must be able to write it separately, correctly. How come the drugs can be, or the prescribed medicine can be a, can it have an impact of addiction? The student must be able to write it. Next, tobacco chewing. What happens when tobacco is taken? The tobacco consists of very important chemical nicotine. First point they have to write. It is an alkaloid, they have to write. When a person takes it, it stimulates the release of more adrenaline and noradrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine from the body. Because of that, what happens? The person heartbeat increase, the oxygen rate, respiration rate increase. The person is prepared for the fight or flight situation. We need to tell to children. So the person will have an increased energy after taking that particular nicotine. We have to make the children understand. So this is why the people are taking. Second thing, what is the impact of taking the cigarette or smokes on nicotine generally? How it affects that, including the cancers of lung, urinary bladder cancer, throat cancer, emphysema for the children, where the lung alveoli will be destroyed. Bronchitis is very common, or CHD, that CAD, actually coronary artery disease called as CAD disease, commonly called gastric ulcer, is very common. And it can cause even oral cancer if the people are taking tobacco. That children must understand what is anoxia or hypoxia. They must know that. So these are all the common impact of this. Children must write it. Questions can be expected in that regard only. How it affects the person health, why people take it. In that way only mostly questions can be asked. The causes and all children will write very easily, or why it is very important to teach the children of 12 to 18 years of age, and all the children will just like it's a piece of cake, they will be able to write it very easily. But we need to make sure that children are not writing story. They can write the heading, curiosity, adventure, excitement, experimentation, all these things they can write. Inside they can write the content in their own language. There is no wrong in that. Curiosity means what? Adventurous seeking means what? Excitement means what? Experimentation means what? Stress and pressure to the excel in examination means what? So all these things they can write in their own language, but according to the heading, according to this particular questions only they have to do. Then what is the impact of this? Immediate and far away implications are there. The immediate impact including health issues all will be there. The far reaching including the reckless behavior, malicious mischief, violence, academic performance will be affected, depression, then people may indulge in various criminal activities. All these things student must not write on their own as a stories. Teachers, we need to again emphasize here, we need to make the children understand it is not a topic to be written as a story, or not to be written as a something on their own. The points must be from the book. Points must be based on that in their own language. They can write it, that is different, but they must write all this content should be there in the if at all question is asked in that way. And very common question, you all will always say that expected question is difference between addiction and dependence. That is the most expected question. Many times it is asked also. So to take you out of the sleep, I want to ask some questions to you. So can you say what is the difference between addiction and dependence, teachers? How come students will be able to write it if such a question comes, or how come we make the children to write it?
Addiction, they'll have a feeling of using it again and again, like without it, they could not able to do any other work. Addiction.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. It's a very important question, teachers. Maybe you can expect this question is asked already in the board exam. if at all students may come and say, we don't know. I am very eagerly expecting such a question should come, because that is there, students have prepared. That's why you may also share your experience whether such a question comes or not. Now you can say what is the difference between addiction and dependence, how we make the children to understand.
Dep-
Like,
addiction- yes, sir.
Yes, anybody can say. Gayatri ma'am said. Now anybody else also can say. One point Gayatri ma'am said.
sir, addiction is like we are getting habituated to one specific substances, and like
Okay.
dependency is, if we want to leave that also we cannot leave, because we will have like withdrawal symptoms.
Very good, ma'am. Yes, very nice. Same thing exactly. In our own understanding, we have said.
Addiction, we can also add like
Yes.
we can also connect it with the behavior. Like
Yes.
they can show some wrong behavior, that much they would be addicted.
Very good, ma'am. Yes, correctly. Yes, we are all saying correctly. When we put into the mind of children, little we can play with the words. We have no option. We have to play with the words and we have to say to children. Say, for example, addiction. When a person takes, whatever the reason may be, it can be because of the curiosity, experimentation, or whatever that may be. When a person takes certain things, it can be drug or alcohol or a cigarette or anything, the person will get some effect produced. Something will, because of taking an alcohol or liquor or anything, some effect will be produced in the person's body. Psychologically getting attached to that particular feeling, or but the impact is called as addiction. Addiction is nothing but psychologically getting attached to the effect produced by certain drugs or certain alcohol or cigarette is called as addiction. Again, I'm telling, addiction, the psychological attachment of a person to the effect produced by taking various, maybe a drug or this a liquor or any this cigarette or whatever that may be, that is called as addiction. Dependence, on the other hand, what will happen, since the person started taking, the body tolerance level will increase. Say, for example, if a person in the beginning taking only one cigarette, the person will get the psychological effect. Slowly the body tolerance level increase. As a result, to get that effect, the person has to consume more and more amount of cigarettes. Maybe 10 cigarettes he or she takes only, that effects will be produced. It's because the body tolerance level is keep on increasing. This tolerance level as keep on increasing, it is associated with the withdrawal syndrome. When abruptly or when all of a sudden it is stopped, when we say the person not to drink or not to smoke, all of a sudden, if it is given up, it will create a negative effect on the person's body. Because the person's tolerance level has increased already, we have to bring down the tolerance level. We have to remove that. Then only the person will become cured. That can be rehabilitated. That is later we will see. So addiction, it's a psychological attachment to the effect produced by taking certain chemicals, drugs, and all this thing. Whereas the dependence is the body tolerance level will increase. So in order to get that effect, the people will consume more and more amount of that particular drug or whatever that the person is taking. The second reason, first reason can be anything. The addiction can be of anything. It can be because, secondary reason, that is second thing, like dependence, it is not because of the curiosity, it is not because of adventure or nothing. It is only because of that, to get the psychological effect only, the person will be again and again taking. Am I right, teachers? Will it be better for children to understand in this way? Do you feel okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So then we need to put this into the mind of, yes, others are not saying anything. Yes, ma'am. Gayatri ma'am, Amuda ma'am, Jansi ma'am,
Yes,
Shanmuga
sir.
Priya.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. We can say that.
I think this is the right time to say all these things, because
Yes.
they are in a very crucial stage to know all these things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, exactly. Yes, value-based question. Right? You don't know now what is, when we open the newspaper, we all read that. Is really hurting. What to do with the students, how they are behaving in the classrooms and all. It won't take much time to impact our students also. We are all, of course, we are all studying. Parents are taking care. Everything is good. All our students are good only. But it's about whether today they will get the impact or later they will get the impact, that we don't know. It's not now. So it's always better, we are all in that position to teach the children all this negative impact of all this thing. Definitely, as Jansi ma'am said, we have to take care of the children. Then only we can protect these people from what is going on outside from that. Next one, withdrawal syndrome. Very importantly, the question may be asked. So please kindly make the children to understand that. Next one is the athletes teacher. This question is asked. Where what answer will you give such question asked? Name the drug abused by the athletes. Why they are abusing? How to find whether the person is having the abused or not? How? What answer shall we write, teacher? Such questions are asked in exam. Today, Parthiban sir is very silent. I don't know what happened. Sir will always say answer in the beginning first
Sir.
itself. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, teachers. Well, if
Mostly,
such a question,
cannabinoids drugs are abused by.
one word is there, ma'am, but we need to write 3 at least. Exam is there. Is there? Yes, ma'am.
3 drugs you are asking, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
3 type of things are substance abused by athletes, and why they are doing that, and how to find whether the person has abused the drug or not. It is there in the reader itself. On the screen also you can see the 3rd point. Can you all find the teachers?
Yes, sir.
This is there in the reader also.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, please prepare the children for this question also. There was a question. So kindly make the children to understand this particular 3rd point alone, very importantly. And this question, you know, how it is there, it is not there in the textbook, but they are asking in the exam, dope test, DOPE. The test name, the children must be able to write it if at all they are asking. The question is asked, maybe it is there in the supplementary reader, I believe. I need to check it. But the question answer we need to write is dope test. That this is there in the book also. If you want, you can mark it in the book itself. The next page it will be there. The, you know, after you see all this, you know, physical effect, physiological effect and all, after you complete, then there is a last paragraph in that it will be there. How this especially steroid affects the body of a person, there is one content. How it affects a male and female separately, there is a, can you find the teachers if you are having book with you? I think time is up. That's why there is very slow response. Fine, no issues. We'll wind off. So last question can be very easy. I hope I'm audible to you, teachers.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, thank you. So last question, please make them children to learn very well. Who knows? Maybe the questions may come as it is also in the exam. If you're all the 12th standard teachers, for this current batch I'm talking, of course, for the next batch, we have a lot of time to make all this thing, consider all this thing. But the current batch, make them write line by line. This lesson, next lesson, I say 2 pages enough. Next lesson, microbes in human welfare, within 2 pages, you can complete everything. They have to know the name of the microorganism, group of microorganism, what product produced, what is its role. That's all, 4 columns. Like that, you make in 2 pages. Make circulate them, ask them to take a photocopy or something, make them to memorize. In 2 pages, you can complete next lesson. That includes what is that biological treatment also. When biological treatment and all is there, children must understand very clearly what is secondary treatment, why it is called as biological treatment, what are the flaws, what is that you know, activated sludge means what, that and all student must be able to understand. So within 2 pages you can complete. But this particular lesson, it's actually elaborate. These 2 lessons, if we make the children to score, especially yesterday some teachers said that there are many slow performers are there. Those slow performers, you target this lesson and next lesson, 14 marks, they must be able to get it very well. Biotechnology, the human last 1 unit, 10 marks, they will be definitely able to get some questions, some topic they will be able to write. So definitely our students marks will not be less than 20. We can make sure 20, they are all able to get it all together. So please take that in mind. with this, today our biology full this is over.